something worth reaching. Most people avoid problems. But I was always curious. What if the problem is the opportunity in disguise? At Alibaba, every major leap started with something going wrong. Server failures, partnerships collapsing, users complaining. Each issue forced us to think deeper. And that thinking opened doors. Challenges aren't obstacles, they're invitations to grow. I realized that the reason most people don't succeed isn't because of problems, but because they run from them. They fear discomfort. But personal growth only happens when you confront what's difficult. If you want to build mental resilience, lean into your problems, not away from them. They hold more value than you can imagine. When we tried to expand into rural China, everyone said it was impossible. Logistics, infrastructure, cost, everything was stacked against us. But we didn't avoid it. We dove in, and from that chaos, Taobao emerged. Today, it's one of the biggest platforms we've ever built. That's the reward of facing the hard stuff. I used to say, great leaders don't solve problems because they like pain. They solve them because that's where the treasure hides. Problems test your creativity, your emotional intelligence, your determination. They refine you. They stretch your limits and sharpen your instincts. And that's where true life transformation begins. Next time something breaks, don't panic. Observe. Ask better questions. See what others are ignoring. That's how innovation is born. Not in comfort, but in chaos. Every door that opens to something great usually starts out looking like a wall. It's easy to start when the sky is clear. But what do you do when the storm comes? That's when most people give up. The journey to success isn't a straight line. It's a test of resilience, a series of storms. And each time you choose to keep going, you prove to yourself what you're truly made of. That's how confidence is built. At Alibaba, we face more storms than I can count. Political pressures, lawsuits, market crashes, times when it felt like everything would collapse. But we didn't stop. Because the real opportunity doesn't disappear in the storm, it hides in it. Most people quit just before the rainbow appears, but persistence is what reveals it. True willpower development isn't about pushing through once, it's about showing up again and again. When things get tough, ask yourself, is this a sign to stop or a signal to grow? That question has guided me through countless moments of doubt, and every time I chose to persist, something better was waiting on the other side. Don't expect the path to be easy, expect it to be worth it. Success habits are forged when you stay consistent, even when your results aren't immediate. That's what separates visionaries from wishful thinkers. You must earn your breakthroughs, and you do that by weathering storms others run from. The storm doesn't last forever, but what it reveals can last a lifetime. It sharpens your focus, strengthens your mindset, and teaches you how to stand when everything pushes you to fall. In that resistance lies your greatest power. People often look at successful entrepreneurs and think, they must have had it easy. But what you see is the highlight reel. What you don't see are the sleepless nights, the near bankruptcies, the betrayals. Behind every giant is a person who almost gave up. I know, because I've been there, more times than I can count. There were days I questioned everything. Days when Alibaba's future looked uncertain, when people doubted me, when I doubted myself. But I kept going. Not because I was brave, but because I remembered why I started. That's what kept the fire alive. That's what allowed me to turn self-doubt into self-belief. Success isn't built on perfection, it's built on persistence. Even giants have weak moments. The difference is, they get up anyway. And each time they do, they become stronger. That's how mental resilience is formed, not by avoiding pain, but by learning how to walk through it with your head up. What I've learned is this: greatness comes not from avoiding struggle, but from embracing it. When everything around you shakes, your foundation is tested, and that's when you discover whether you're building a castle or just a sandcastle. Self-discipline is what turns pain into power. The next time you admire someone successful, remember, they've cried too. They felt fear, failure, and frustration, but they didn't let it define them. They turned it into fuel. And that's exactly what you can do. I used to complain a lot about the internet speed, about competition, about resources, until I realized complaining changes nothing. But perspective, that changes everything. The moment I stopped asking, why me, and started asking, what can I learn from this, my entire life shifted. That's when growth mindset took root. Problems didn't disappear, but they became my greatest teachers. Every time something went wrong, I forced myself to pause. Instead of reacting emotionally, I chose curiosity. What is this trying to show me? That simple shift in mindset transformed my relationship with adversity. It's a powerful form of self-awareness. You go from victim to creator, from stuck to empowered, and that's where self-improvement truly begins. When people come to me with problems, I tell them, don't just fix it, study it. Because inside that frustration is a lesson you can't buy. It might be a blind spot, or a broken system, or a lack of clarity. But whatever it is, it's valuable. And once you mine that value, you grow. That's how emotional intelligence develops. In the fire, not in the comfort. Changing your perspective doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means seeing more than just the pain. It means choosing to view failure as feedback, stress as a signal, and struggle as strength in disguise. That's the real-life transformation. It's mental alchemy, turning burden into breakthrough. The next time something goes wrong, ask yourself, how can I grow through this? Because often, the greatest opportunities are hiding behind the problems you're too tired to face. Change the lens, and the view changes with it. Most people avoid hard things. That's why those who choose them find less competition and greater rewards. I realized early on that if something looked too difficult, it might be worth doing. Not because I liked suffering, but because difficulty filters out the lazy. If it's hard, it's probably valuable. And if it's valuable, it's worth the effort. When we launched Alibaba, competing with eBay wasn't the easy route. Building trust in e-commerce in China, even harder. But that's why we succeeded, because we dared to go where others hesitated. The harder the problem, the fewer people attempting to solve it. That's not a warning, that's an opportunity. Self-discipline isn't about forcing yourself to suffer. It's about choosing the meaningful discomfort over the comfortable dead end. Every challenge is a filter. It tests your patience, your grit, your belief. But if you keep showing up, you'll be the last one standing. And sometimes, just being there longer than everyone else is enough to win. Personal growth often hides inside the projects you're avoiding. The difficult conversation, the new skill, the unexplored market. Lean into the resistance. It's where willpower development is forged. And once you embrace that, you realize that most people aren't your competition. They quit before they even begin. If you want less competition, don't look for easier paths. Look for the ones that scare others, the ones that demand more. That's where your real edge lives. And once you find it, you'll wonder why you ever tried to play small. There's no map to success, no guaranteed playbook. Most of what I learned came from doing, failing, adjusting, trying again. That's the truth no one wants to hear. You figure it out as you go. And the ones who go furthest are the ones willing to keep walking, even when the path is unclear. That's what makes the difference. I didn't know how to build a tech company. I wasn't a coder. I didn't go to an elite school. But I was willing to learn. I was willing to be wrong. That's continuous learning, not just reading books, but living lessons. The faster you get comfortable with uncertainty, the faster you grow. Because clarity isn't given, it's earned through action. A lot of people are waiting for instructions, waiting for someone to show them how. But that's not how life works. The ones who thrive are the ones who create their own manual, who write their own chapters. And that takes mental resilience and self-belief. Not because they know the answers, but because they're willing to ask better questions. You'll fall, you'll look foolish, you'll be misunderstood. But that's part of the process. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident voice was once filled with doubt. But they kept going, and step by step, they figured it out. That's what self-discipline really is. The courage to keep moving forward when nothing is certain. Stop waiting for the perfect formula. Start creating your own. The freedom of not knowing everything is this. You're free to build something no one has ever seen before. And that's how history gets made. Opportunity rarely looks shiny. Sometimes it looks like pain. Sometimes it looks like failure. But I've learned that the things we want to avoid often hold the exact growth we need. The problem you don't want to face, the challenge you're avoiding, the decision you keep postponing, those are the doors to your next level. But you have to open them. When I was rejected over and over again, I didn't see it as luck. I saw it as preparation. Life doesn't hand you chances with labels. It hands you obstacles. And if you're brave enough to look closer, you'll see that every difficulty carries a hidden invitation. That's where real personal transformation starts. We often chase distant goals while ignoring the gold right under our feet. But self-awareness is the ability to spot opportunity in real time, even when it's wrapped in stress. That's a superpower, because the sooner you see it, the faster you move. And momentum compounds. One decision leads to another. One step unlocks the next. Don't wait for conditions to be perfect. Don't wait for someone to pick you. The door is already in front of you. It just doesn't look like you expected. Productivity, focus, and goal setting only matter if you're willing to